Hello, and thank you for your interest in my research project. I'm Irma. I'm a junior in the college studying art history and comparative literature, and my project concerns the modernist framing of the bullfight and, more narrowly, its artistic expression in the work of Pablo Picasso, in particular this one image, Minotauromachy, which is the object of extensive critical derision, incomprehension, or just pure ignorance. So I was initially drawn to this subject because I wanted to sort of deconstruct this aura that exists around the bullfight, which many people are surprised to learn is a living practice. You'd think, it's so old-fashioned, sort of brutal relic of the past, and yet it's practiced to this day throughout the Iberian Peninsula and in parts of France. And commentators and spectators of the bullfight still very much play into these tropes of romance and tragedy and danger, and very much contribute to this mystique that shrouds the bullfight as a practice. What's also really evident in much of the commentary revolving around the bullfight is this dialectic between, on the one hand, the bullfighter representing artifice, ornament, or if you want to designate it, civilization, gesture, which can be cultivated or even contrived. And then on the other hand, the bull representing unfettered wilderness, nature, anarchy, violence. And if you want to put it in the crudest possible terms, it's almost a sort of battle between good and evil. Although, hopefully, as we advance, you'll see that this dialectic is really innately flawed. And yet, it is a typical framing of the bullfight. And what's also interesting about the bullfight as a tradition or as a sport is that it's very strictly regimented and codified, which is to say that there's an extensive body of legislation around it, going back to the 16th century when you have Pope Pius V proclaiming the injunction against the bullfight in 1567, but also persisting today in the form of training academies and sort of aesthetic or athletic manuals on the ideal sequence of the bullfight and dictionaries of the bullfight, and also really extensive body of literature and art spawned around this blood sport. And if you're catching on to this sort of modernist cast to this interest, you might be thinking of Ernest Hemingway and Death in the Afternoon. Now, he's one part of the puzzle, but there's a much more extensive body of French writers and artists who are equally interested in the bullfight and who write and paint and draw the sport very extensively. And I'm primarily concerned with Pablo Picasso, and in particular with this etching Minotauromachy, because, as I mentioned, it's sort of critically contested piece. Most commentators and interpreters of Picasso really have trouble situating it within his artistic trajectory. And my goal with this project is to recast its role in Picasso's overall output and to redeem it against these really facile charges of reactionary classicism, of Picasso's regression after his abandonment of Cubism in the teens. Instead, I'd like to read the work in conjunction with the practice of the bullfight itself that Picasso as an aficionado would have been intimately aware of. And in doing so, I hope to restore this sort of radical valence to the work that it is due and demonstrate its filiation with the internal logic and avant-garde principles of Cubism that I believe Picasso is so wrongly accused of having abandoned.